Yo, what's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another live stream vid. So I want to go ahead and chop in a couple things. Just a four list of topics I want to go over, and probably gonna keep this within the hour, whatnot. So if I do exceed that, please forgive me. I'm human, just like everyone else. But I don't expect this to be a long live stream overall. Did I say live stream? Live stream overall, I should say. So, as you could tell, the sound of my voice or my voice patterns, I am a little bit exhausted, or should I say, too exhausted, because I have had a very long week at work. It all stemmed from me being promoted. So, been taking on a lot of responsibilities now with my new position in the company that I'm with. So it's kind of somewhat taking a lot out of my time than usual. So obviously, when you're promoted to a new position, you are required to do to handle more responsibility. So it is what it is, but it is rewarding for the most part, so I can't complain too much. So, moving on here. So, list of topics. So, I'm gonna go over the rumor Deontay Wilder and Wilder-Helenius pay-per-view buys, and I'm also gonna go over the fact I'm gonna also go over that the WBC has officially ordered Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz Jr. As a final eliminator to the winner of the Fury versus Chisora for the WBC title, which, in my opinion, that's going to be a foregone conclusion if you ask me on that particular fight. Not on the Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder one, but on the Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora trilogy fight. Uh, then I was also going to talk about Anthony Joshua not planning to return for the remainder of the year. His planned comeback would be in 2023. I believe it's early 2023, but I digress. I don't know, but I'll have to do some more digging on that. And lastly, I will talk about the my thoughts on the first presser that took place today earlier with Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora. So let's get into it. I see one comment come in. What up, Percy? What it do, brother? What it do? What it do? So I'm going to talk about the Deontay Wilder and Wilder-Helenius rumored pay-per-view buys of 77,000. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. If it is true, then that is very, very abysmal, and that's way below my expectations because I thought this pay-per-view would do at least 150,000 buys. But 77, yeah, that's very abysmal and that's ridiculous. I guess it goes to show that the reaction towards the pay-per-view market is not favorable, and these numbers prove that point. But given the fact that the source comes from Rick Glazer, I have to question that. And so you should, if you actually have a rational brain or thinking here, because Rick Glazer is known to not publish correct data. Now it's fair for him to say that I get it from a source, so I trust my source. I get it, but how long are you going to continue to rely on a source that's not providing you accurate information? So I'll give an example. When he initially reported Gennady Golovkin in the David Lemieux fight, he reported that it performed way below standards, which it did. It did. We're not going to sugarcoat that, but I defended Golovkin to some extent to that for that situation because one, his purse along with David Lemieux wasn't very astronomical as you want to call it. So I thought, and plus they did very well at the live gate. So I thought, okay, maybe they broke even or they performed okay with the pay per view of 150,000 buys, right? So he initially reported 89K, but I think another source contradicted him. I think it came from HBO or Tom Loeffner. It was 150,000 buys. So his Rick Glazer was credibility is coming into question there, and I've questioned it about it as well. I'm not going to out who pretty much provided the information that I questioned his uh, his position on the 89,000 pay per view buys with Golovkin and Lemieux. Um, Apparently, he was pretty much moving the goalposts on that situation. But needless to say, though, he has. When I asked, well, how can you justify your data to be accurate while others contradicted you? So he didn't like that at all when I presented that to him, indirectly, that is. So, the fact is that the point I'm making is that if he's reporting these type of numbers, add an additional 30,000 pay-per-view buys on top of that. Pretty much what I'm going at is that I really believe that the true number is over 100,000. So again, my expectation was 150K, but it's well below that. And even 150K is still bad either way. Depending how much Wilder got paid and how much Helenius got paid, from my understanding, they probably didn't even get guarantees for this fight. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But needless to say, though, yeah, we all agree it wasn't a pay-per-view fight. These are not good numbers, but we didn't expect them to be high anyway. So, yeah, that's the thing. So it's too surprising. But again, the 77K is the one that has got people talking about and got people raving. But then again, you gotta be very mindful about the source here, Rick Glazer, and he's known to put out false information throughout the past. So yeah. Now, again, not trying to discredit the guy. I mean, it may be perceived to be that way, but I'm just telling the truth. He has put out false data, and he's been back whenever he's backed into a corner about that, he throws a hissy fit. So, yeah. What I also find very strange about that is that he seems to always have some insider when it comes to PBC events, but yet when it comes to Top Rank and Queensberry, in fact, those are the guys that he favor a lot. Tyson Fury, the Bob Arums of the world, because I think he actually has a close relationship with Bob Arum. I'm not, if I'm mistaken, please correct me on that. I could be wrong. But he's yet to even come out and even put out figures on those numbers, because we've yet to get numbers on the Dillian White and the Dillian White pay-per-view, at least from the UK standpoint. But as far as the US, I heard it did only 40K. Again, you can blame the time. You can blame the time slot when the pay-per-view was put in. I get that, but at the same time, the fight wasn't really promoted out here, so the 40K really didn't hurt ESPN in that particular situation, because they didn't fit the bill for that event, whatnot. That was Queensberry. That was all on their dime, and so yeah, I find it kind of strange that he has this this bit of a bias against the PBC, where he degrades them whenever chance that he gets. And don't get me wrong, you don't have to like the PBC, but every single time every chance that he gets to bash them. But yeah, he doesn't show that equal standing or same level of criticism, or I should say, with the Top Rank or the Queensberry brand. Again, he likes those guys. I think he has a relationship with Mr. Bob Arum. So yeah, I don't see him go out and criticize Tyson Fury's numbers and figures, because again, the rumor mill is that it did so poorly that that Queensberry refused to put out the data on that. So we don't know. It's still a mystery on what those numbers look like. And that fight was 6 months ago, going on 7 now. Well, actually 6 months ago would be the sack. And again, the only data that we got is 40K here in the United States. So, anyways, I just wanted to throw my thoughts out there on that. So again, if he's saying that 77,000, then you got to add a little extra 30,000, maybe 20 or 30,000 on top of that. So I would say it did roughly over 100,000. That's just my thoughts on it. And then again, we may never know, because the PBC hasn't really put out figures on their pay-per-views as of late. So maybe Rick Glazer is correct, or again, maybe he's wrong, and he's proven to be wrong time and time again. So yeah. Anyways, moving along on that, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I just thought I'd give my thoughts. Speaking of Deontay Wilder, the WBC will officially order the fight on their upcoming convention that's going to take place, I think, next month. As far as the location, I think it's in Miami. I could be wrong. I think that was last year in Miami. I don't know. Trying to keep track, guys. Forgive me. So shout out to Mala in the chat. So they'll officially order the fight. I know Malik Scott was asked about his opinion or position on the potential Andy Ruiz clash. Based off his body language or his gesture, it doesn't seem like he's keen on that particular fight. He seems to be more keen on the Usyk fight. But to be honest with you, I don't see why Malik is very keen on that. Maybe because he knows Alexander very well. They're buddies. He's been in countless sparring sessions or training camps with him, so he knows him very well. He knows his weaknesses and his strengths, or vice versa, I should say. He knows Alexander's strengths, and he definitely knows his weaknesses. So that's based off his posture and his position. he would rather have Wilder go through that fight more so than the Ruiz fight. I'll be honest with you guys. I really don't think Wilder should fight Usyk right now. I don't think he's worthy of that shot. I think he needs at least another fight, and this Andy Ruiz fight would be the one. If he can get past Ruiz, and I think he will, then he'll be warranted or more deserving to get another title shot after that, because he just got through a final eliminator. He beat Helenius and Ruiz back to back potentially, and that right there will, nobody can really argue against that. So, yeah, I honestly, and another thing too that I'm concerned about is that I don't favor Deontay chances against Usyk right now in his current state. No, I don't think he'll beat him. I think he needs another warm up fight or two. Not saying warm up fight. He needs another fight or two to fully install his confidence at a full capacity, so that way he can go in there against Usyk. Not saying that he cannot beat him. There's a possibility he can, but at this point, I think it'd be better off he goes up against Ruiz, because Alexander Usyk is a very tricky and very awkward and unpredictable character, because it's like he switches gears on every fight, and you don't know what type of fight that he's going to bring towards you. Sometimes he'll stand and trade with you. He'll give you angles. He'll change up the trajectory of his punches. It's like it's very difficult to predict in time. So I just think that it would not be wise for him to go up against Usyk. I think it'd be better for him to fight Ruiz. I think because Ruiz is more stationary. He doesn't move like Usyk. He lacks the head movement. So Ruiz is there to be hit. Now, the one thing I will caution Deontay Wilder, is that do not get caught up in the exchanges in the inside against Andrew Ruiz. Do not do that, because there's no way he's going to win. There's no way he's going to outpunch Ruiz in the exchanges. So he's going to have to keep it long, keep it at range, jab Ruiz's face off. That's all pretty much he has to do. Hit him with a couple 1-2s, dig a couple body shots in to slow him down even further. Pretty much employ the same tactics and strategies, just like Anthony Joshua did in the second fight. When you get up close, tie him up. Tie him up. That way you don't give him a chance to unleash those punches. That's what Anthony Joshua did. And I think that's what Joseph Parker, for the most part in their fight, he kept it at long range. But when they did get close up, he did tie him up a little bit. So I think that's the more winnable fight, and that's the route that he needs to go. Whatnot. And plus, that should be an easier fight to make, more so than the Usyk fight. And don't get me wrong, Usyk doesn't really have a problem making fights with anyone. But given the fact that he's coming off 2 good wins, very, very great wins over Anthony Joshua back to back, he's going to command a high dollar. So maybe negotiating with him will be slightly tough now, but I don't think it'll be that much of an issue like negotiating with Tyson Fury, or some cases with Anthony Joshua Matchroom. Oh, not some cases, most cases with Anthony Joshua Matchroom or 258. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts. I think Deontay should just go forward with the Ruiz fight, because I think that's a more winnable fight than Usyk at this point. So, yeah, I agree with Mala on this one. Shout out to Hoplo. What's happening, Hoplo? So, yeah, I think Wilder has a better chance against Ruiz. Yeah, I definitely agree. Wilder and Ruiz will do better numbers. Yeah, definitely they will, because Ruiz is a name. He was a former unified champion. He beat Joshua, and he just recently beat Luis Ortiz. So, yeah, I think, definitely do better numbers in the Helenius fight. But again, says 77,000 is rumored, but that's coming from Rick Glazer, because he's the only source. And like I said, whenever he puts out a number like that, you want to add an additional 20 or 30,000 pay-per-view buys on top of that number. So yeah. Well, shout out to Ernest Terry in the chat. Haplo says that Wilder KO's Usyk. I mean, it's possible, but I'm not going to bank on that. I don't think it's going to be that easy. Wilder has never had a fight where he couldn't deliver his right hand. Yeah, he lands it every single time. He's going to catch you one way or the other. And the reason why he will catch you, because he throws that that shot with precision and speed, because it's like you can't get out of the way of it. Even though he telegraphs that shot, sometimes guys still can't get out of the way of that punch, even if he telegraphs it. So that's how fast he throws that right hand. So can Usyk avoid it for 12 rounds? I think he can, but I'm not too confident. I'm not saying I'm confident that he will, but I think Usyk can take that punch. I really think he can. And like I said, though, I think I favor him to win that fight, but he's going to have to be very careful against Deontay Wilder, because this is not Anthony Joshua, because Anthony Joshua is more textbook. He's very predictable. Wilder, on the other hand, is not a textbook fighter. Yes, he can be clumsy. Yes, he does lack technique, whatnot, but at the same time, he's very unpredictable and he throws those punches in different angles, particularly that right hand. You just can't really time it unless he comes forward and telegraphs it. That's it. So, yeah. And the thing about Alexander Usyk, one of his weaknesses, if you know, since we all debate about whether he has weaknesses or not, one of his biggest weaknesses is that he always keeps coming. He always gets drawn into that right hand, that straight right cross. So Wilder and his team will definitely look at that and say, you know what, this guy's a sucker for getting drawn into the right hands a lot. Because look how many right hands that Joshua landed on him in their 2 fights. And don't get me wrong, Joshua, any success that he had in those fights, other than the body shots, is definitely that straight right. When Usyk goes sometimes overcommit. But the thing about it is that the way to catch Usyk is that you cannot load up on your shots against him. You have to like pot shot him. You're gonna have to not put too much leverage on it, because when you touch him, like Roy Jones was says I should say, you will catch Usyk, but you cannot catch him when you're loading up on a big shot. There's no way you will. So yeah. So Ernest Terry says that he destroys Ruiz. He's too rangy. I wouldn't say destroy. I think that's going to be a totally different fight. That's if Deontay Wilder can employ the same tactics that Anthony Joshua did in the rematch against Ruiz. It's don't give Ruiz a chance to unleash his combinations in the inside, keep it at long range, keep the jab in his face, circle him, because Ruiz is not going to catch you with his feet. He doesn't have the best footwork. I mean, not the best footwork. His feet is slow, and he doesn't really move his head. So yeah, all you have to do is just keep it at range. Don't give him the close quarters, because again, when you give him the close quarters, that you're giving Ruiz the best chance of beating you or winning that fight. So when you do get in close quarters, you tie him up right away. Don't give him a chance to throw his punches. When you're in the clinches, then you get off your right hand and then you block and tie up. That's all you need to do against Ruiz. Usyk's Hapo says that Usyk will be winning on points and later get caught. Yeah, that's possible. But you know, Usyk is very clever. He's a very intelligent fighter. So I'm not sure if Deontay will be able to catch him like he caught Spilka or Ruiz, or not Ruiz, or Ortiz. So yeah. Haflo says no one can take that punch. Well, Tyson Fury did. But again, some people are going to argue, speculate that how in the hell did Tyson Fury take that punch, but nobody else can when Deontay Wilder knocked him down or knocked him out. Some people are going to speculate that Tyson Fury was doing something suspect, given the fact that the rumor mill is that his doctor was with him in that camp for that third Fury fight, which is Dr. Usman. And he's under investigation right now. So I'm curious about that too, by the way. Again, I'm not spreading rumor. I'm not spreading innuendo. I'm not spreading any innuendo, I should say. This is not fact what I'm going to say. It's only a rumor. I've heard from the grapevine, and this has been put out, that Dr. Usman was accompanying Fury during his time in his training camp for the second and third Wilder fights. That's what's been what I've heard. So that right there is suspect. Again, he passed those drug tests. Cool, we leave it as is. But I do find it kind of odd that Dr. Usman, if this is true, that he was with Fury during the time of his training camps in the second and third Wilder fights. I find that very bizarre, especially a guy who specializes in hormone therapy. So yeah. Haplo says that only a person with a chance to take that right hand is Joyce. Yeah, but like I said, Fury took it. He took it. It kept coming at Wilder, so he took that best shot. So let's not discredit that. But again, going back to Fury, the situation with Dr. Usman. So, yeah. Usyk needs to stay right out of his range, or right. Well, hold up. Usyk needs to stay right out of range, or goat right and close. And when he's in the inside, sit down his punches, look to KO Wilder. He doesn't want to go 12 rounds. Yeah, I mean, that's a good possibility. Usyk, yeah, he's going to have to commit more to his punches. You want to get rid of a dangerous guy like that. So, yeah, because the longer he's in there, the more dangerous it becomes. It's kind of like with Ike Tyson. It's like the longer he's in the ring with you, the more dangerous it becomes. And that's why Lennox Lewis, when he fought him, Emmanuel Stewart was extra assertive and yelled at him. It's like, dude, stop fucking around with your jab in the ring, man. You need to get his ass and take it to him right now, because the man is tired. He can't do anything to you. But if you keep playing with them, you give him a chance to get back into the fight. So you got to get him out right now. And that's exactly Tyson Fury did in the third fight, or the second and third fight, is that he didn't take any chances with him. He got, got Deontay Wilder out of there, even though the third fight, it took longer than usual. But yeah, So maybe Usyk has to do the same thing. Probably, yeah. Ernest says booming right hand counters sleeps or Ruiz within 5 rounds or less. Yeah, but let's not forget, Andy Ruiz took Anthony Joshua's best power punches, and he took Luis Ortiz's best power punches in their fight, his recent fight. So, look, I'm not saying that he's gonna knock out Ruiz, but I just don't think it's gonna be that easy. Now, I think Andy Ruiz will be able to take those punches, but for how long though? That's the question. One thing about Andy Ruiz, he can't be continue to take those big bombs and right hands for Wilder throughout that fight. He's got a good chin, yeah, but again, I just don't. I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to sleep in 5 rounds or less, but I'll be surprised if he does. I'll be very surprised. Wilder, that is, if he could get Ruiz out of here within 5 rounds, I'd be very shocked. Amala says that Fury is a big man with a good chin. Yeah, he definitely has a good chin. He's definitely got a very he has very good recuperative powers. So, and his endurance is very good too. So yeah. So Percy asked, well, so what's the rumor though? He gave him PEDs. Yeah, like I said though, I don't know for sure about that. All I know is that Tyson Fury passed the tests. He passed the pre-fight and the post-fight drug test. So I'll leave it at that. However, it is worth to note that Dr. Usman, the rumor is that Dr. Usman was with Tyson Fury for his second and third for his training camps for the second, third, and Wilder fight. That's the rumor. So again, it's just a rumor. I can't confirm if it's true or not, but that's what it's been told, and that's what I've heard. So all I know is right now is that Dr. Usman is being investigated, and he can't say anything right now at the advice of his legal representation. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. Ernest says that he'll take it out for 5 rounds. That's how long. Hey, bold prediction, man. Bold prediction. Bold prediction. But hey, it may happen. But if it does happen, I have to give you a shout out, man. I have to give you a shout out, and I'd be very, very surprised if Wilder can knock out Ruiz within 5 rounds. Very surprised. Shout out to Dan Man. Yeah, shout out to you, Fight Doctor. Miles says that Wilder does need to make sure that he comes in no more than 220. I would say at least no more than 224. At least below that. Yeah, I agree. Anything above 224, I think that's going to be a problem for Deontay Wilder. Because as you can see, he's fast, he's quick at the 215s, the 214, 215s, the 220 ranges. He's quick, he's fast. More importantly, he's got endurance. Because if you look after that first round when he KO'd Wilder-Helenius, he was moving a lot in that ring. And that's something that Malik Scott used to do when he was fighting during his days, right? And fighting in his days, I should say. And when he knocked out not Ruiz, when he knocked out Helenius, and that was at the end of the first round, Wilder didn't even gas. He wasn't even breathing hard. It looked to me that he was ready to go 15 rounds. In fact, they were sparring in one of the sessions for the media workout days. I think they did it 15 or what did they do? 18 minutes nonstop without taking a break. So this weight is perfectly fine for Deontay Wilder. 215, no more than maybe 225 or 224. No more than that. Because more importantly that he needs is his speed and his endurance. Definitely. Yeah, I agree. The first Wilder fight, Wilder Fury fight, I should say, Wilder had no issues with standing at all. In fact, when Tyson Fury was holding him in the clinches, he even leaned on him a couple of times, Wilder was still energetic. So that's why I was wondering, why the fuck did he put on all that weight for? That's why I don't understand if those two fights. It's like, dude, you don't need to put on weight against Tyson Fury. All you have to do is frustrate him, confuse him, move around, and throw your punches at different angles. Don't need to be worrying about knocking him out. You could put the guy down, you can hurt him, but that's why I didn't understand why they needed to gain that extra weight. Yes, I know they're worried about the onslaught, about Fury putting all his weight on him and this, that, and the third. But again, the best thing you could do is to get Fury tired, is to confuse him with all the movement. Because the thing about Tyson Fury is that he doesn't do well with guys that constantly move. Look at the Cunningham fight. Look at the Wallin fight. Yeah, Wallin's not much of a mover, but early on, he was confusing Tyson Fury. It was outboxing him early on with his movement. So you cannot allow a guy like Tyson Fury to maul you like that, especially you can't stand in front of him. You got to give him angles. You got to keep him thinking all the time, mentally drain him. And that's why I say Usyk beats him right now, because Tyson Fury doesn't do well with guys like that. He gets frustrated. In fact, when he gets hurt, it's like that's when he fights a big man fight. He'll do everything he can. He'll do illegal tactics. He'll do what he has to do to slow a guy down. But yeah, he doesn't do well with movers, and that's how I felt with Deontay. All he needed to do is move, get out of the way, and you have more in the gas tank when he leans on you. But then again, not to say he was going to win that fight. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Wilder would have won that fight. I'm just saying that he would have had a far better chance of beating Fury in the second and third fights if he had maintained his natural weight. Which he had his conditioning and his stamina. So yeah, that was just my thoughts on it. I got Ruiz KO within 6. So Mala, you think Ruiz is going to win that fight, or are you saying that Wilder's going to KO him within 6? Yeah. So you saying Ruiz is going to beat Wilder within 6, or are you saying Wilder's going to KO Ruiz within 6? All right, we'll wait for Mala to bring it up. So yeah, Ernest Terry says that I think 224 is a little too heavy. It's too heavy for Deontay. 214, 220 is perfect. Yeah. Yeah, again, yeah, I cannot argue that, but maybe, yeah, that's why I said maybe below 224. 224, yeah, you probably is a little bit too heavy for him. So 220, 215, 220, no, probably like no later. Let's say at least 222. Let's put it that way. At least 222, he should be okay. Fight Doctor says Ruiz gets stopped. I think Wilder will KO Ruiz within 6. Okay. All right, yeah. So everybody's pretty much on this on this live stream says that Wilder is going to KO Andrew Ruiz. I mean, I know Ernest Terry says 5, but Miles says 6. Honestly, guys, I think Wilder is going to win the fight, but it's going to be a late stoppage. I just don't see Ruiz. I don't see him getting Ruiz out of there that early. I really don't see it. I know 6 rounds not that early. Some you can argue 5 is not that early either, but that's still pretty early. That's still early mid rounds, whatnot. So if he stops him like within 5 rounds, I'll be shocked. Really be surprised if that happens. Percy says, "Well, does Wilder really move though? I mean, I really didn't really see him moving like that. I think the extra weight helped him as long as he did against Fury. It's a catch-22 because Wilder can't carry the weight. Well, he did well, given the fact that he was compromised. But you do understand that when you carry all that bulk and muscle with little body fat, what happens is that it creates something called lactic acid, right? And what happens is that when you pump your body, when you pump your body full of blood at an accelerating rate, the lactic acid grows, and what happens is it thins the oxygen with the flow within your body, so it tires you out. So all that extra weight in his frame on him in that second and third Fury fight really plagued him. In fact, I'll go back to the second fight. Before the knockdown, when Wilder got seriously hurt and he couldn't really recover from that, and that was the top of the headshot, but it is what it is. Wilder was already he was already drained, like in the second round. He was already gassing already. I was like, what in the hell? And I noticed it too. It's like, dude, you look sluggish. It seems like he's gassing already. It's like something was definitely off with the guy. If something was not right with him at all. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is what it is. But Wilder was not right in that fight. He looked sluggish, and he was already gassing for air in the second round in that second fight. And it had something to do with the weight, not properly training. So definitely that extra weight didn't do him very well at all. In the third fight, yeah, he had a better account of himself, but he was already gone as far as fighting on fumes in the third round. His punches were slow. He was moving slowly. It was just bad, man. All that extra weight really plagued him. So yeah. What else here? Smile says if Ruiz doesn't have the foot speed or head movement and has short arms, I think Wilder wouldn't have no problem fighting that right hand. Yeah, you know what? It's kind of somewhat of the first Severn fight, because I remember back in the day when Wilder was the mandatory challenger to Severn's title. There were people picking Severn to win that fight based off of experience and based off technique and based off technique. And rightfully so, because Wilder didn't fight the level of opposition that Severn did back in the day, whatnot. And I think Wilder was still the favorite, but not that much. But some observers really didn't pick Wilder to win that fight. And he outboxed Severn completely. And all he had to do is keep, stay out of his range, keep the jab in his face, because Severn himself didn't have good head movement, and he also had very slow feet and very short arms. So it could be a fight though. Andy Ruiz was really going to have to work to get inside the range, and all Wilder had to do was circle him, keep the fight from long distance. That's all he had to do. Keep the jab in his face, and then mix it up with the 1-2, couple body shots here and there, and just get out of the way. All you have to do is dip to his left and his right to get out of those big wingy shots. And I think that's what Ruiz is going to do in that fight. It's just like Severn did. It's going to have to really work hard to try to get in those shots and throw some wide overhand rights from the outside, which he's going to look a little clumsy. So, in fact, Ruiz got shorter arms than Severn. So, yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. But again, I just don't think it's going to be that easy. Ernest says that this will be Hearns and Duran 2.0, utter destruction. Ortiz even said Wilder would kill Ruiz. I concur. 5 rounds or less. Hey man, if that happens, I'll be majorly shocked, and I'll be coming on here and say, you know what, Ernest Terry and Fight Doctor and Mala, you're all right, man, because I didn't think it was going to happen within 5-6 rounds. I really didn't believe that. In fact, Wilder will get a lot of credit if he could do that, because Joseph Parker and Anthony Joshua couldn't even do this to Andy Ruiz, but Wilder was able to do that, beat him and knock him out early. I mean, those two guys couldn't even do it. Then Wilder did it. Yeah, Wilder definitely deserves a lot of credit. And at that time, if it does happen, I don't want to hear this bullshit about Deontay Wilder's resume being trash. I'm not saying it is the greatest resume in the world, even if he beats Ruiz, but that's still a damn good win, and that strengthens his resume. So after he beats Ruiz, you can't talk about his resume as garbage anymore at that point. You really can't. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's the thing. So moving on to the next topic. Speaking of Anthony Joshua will not fight for the remainder of the year. He's planning his comeback in 2023, and pretty much this is the right thing to do. I even said a while back after that second Usyk loss, I think Anthony Joshua needs to take the rest of the year off, not think about boxing. I know some people were, came and challenged me on that. So how can you say that, Dan? How can you say that? I mean, he didn't get knocked out. Usyk didn't really hurt him, which I disagree with. I mean, yes, he didn't get knocked out, but at the end of the day, didn't you see the mental breakdown that he had after that second Usyk loss? The man completely lost it, and that goes to show that his mental mindset is not there anymore. He's mentally broken, and that second Usyk loss really did him in. So pushing him back into that ring, I was saying that pushing him, but rushing him back into the ring for the remainder of the year was not a good idea. He needs to take the rest of the year off. Let him have his fun outside of boxing. As far as let him enjoy his activities, let him think for a minute, let him enjoy himself for a minute, and let him not think about boxing, because that's exactly what Deontay Wilder did. Leave the scene for a while, enjoy yourself, and then when you get your mental strength back, and then you can go back and say, okay, I'm ready to go back and try this again. Because he's made a lot of money. He doesn't need to rush and go back into the ring for the remainder of the year. I know, again, some people, disagree with that because they felt he needs to be more active. He didn't get knocked out by Usyk. But again, that's not the point. The point is that he needs to be mentally prepared to go into fights, whatnot. You can't just rush him back in there after coming back off back-to-back losses and very devastating losses. And he lost 3 of his last 5 fights. And he got stopped in one of those fights. And that was against Andrew Ruiz. So I just think that this is the right thing for for his management company to do, is steer him away from the ring for now. Do not put him back in there for the remainder of the year, and and let him focus on early 2023. I know it's disappointing for some of the Joshua fans, but this is the truth. This is what he needs right now. I know he's relegated to fight once a year, but that's not the point. The point is that he needs to get his mental strength back. And that those 2 Usyk fights really did him in. Really did him in. So, yeah. And by the way, I also have to point out that this further proves my point that Anthony Joshua pulled out of that Tyson Fury fight. Call it a duck, it is a duck. There's no sugarcoating it. It is a duck. But to be fair, Anthony Joshua really wanted to fight Tyson Fury. It was just that his management team didn't want him to do it. And rightfully so. They didn't want him to do it. Naming Eddie Hearn in 258. But again, my advice to them is that Do not call out another fighter's bluff if you really had no intentions of making that fight. Don't do it because it makes you look bad. And I don't like Tyson Fury. It's well documented. People, you guys know that. But the fact is that I really truly believe that he really wanted to make that fight just after looking at, just after observing everything that went down. It looks like he genuinely wanted to make that fight, even though it was a cowardly move because he's trying to get Joshua at the lowest point of his career. And again, part of me is glad that they didn't bite. They didn't take the bait from Fury. But again, do not call the man's bluff when you had no intention of signing the contract to fight him. It just makes you look bad. So yeah, they ducked the fight. Anthony Joshua, that is. He ducked the Fury fight. So again, for all these people out there that says that Tyson Fury is the one that ducked, well, you need to explain that why Joshua fighting the next year rather than the remainder of the year. They had no intention of pretty much they had no intention of putting Anthony Joshua back in the ring for the remainder of the year. Again, that's the right thing to do. No intentions at all. So yeah. What up to DGO in chat? Fight Doctor says that Joshua needs to retire. No, I disagree with that. He still offers a lot to this to the heavyweight division and to the sport. So he still got a young career. I mean, he's 32 years old. I mean, he's made a lot of money within 27 fights. He's lost 3 of them, unfortunately. So, yeah, he still has a lot to offer, man. I don't think he should retire. No way. I agree, Dan. Mentally, he seems to be fragile. Yeah, and the thing about it, too, is that Tyson Fury loves to torment him. He loves to do it because we know AJ is a fragile guy. He does seem to have some bit of mental composure, but when you keep pushing his buttons, he'll snap at you. He just can't take it anymore. And that's what happened in that second Usyk fight. I don't know. I'm not sure if Usyk did something to him mentally, but I think what happened is that he couldn't stand the fact that he lost a guy that's naturally smaller than him, schooled him twice, didn't come close to knocking him out. And I think that really did him in, and the fact that you still got Tyson Fury that's tormenting him, harassing him, and same thing with Deontay Wilder and all these, along with these other online trolls and critics. He just can't seem to get a break, and he just snapped at that point. So at this point, take him away from boxing right now. He doesn't need to think about it right now. He's got a lot of money. He's set for now, and then when he'll come back when he's ready. So as far as early 2023, I think that's the best move for them to do. Now, as far as the opponent's concerned, the rumor mill is that they're looking at Otto Wallin and Chris Arreola. Now, let me say this. Otto Wallin, hell no. I would advise against that. Do not put Anthony Joshua in there against Otto Wallin in his comeback fight. Now, again, that's not to say that he cannot beat Wallin. It's just that that's a very awkward and tricky fight. That's a fight that Wallin's going to make Joshua look bad. Yes, they have a little history. Anthony Joshua beat Wallin in the amateur several years ago, but that was a very long time ago. Very long time ago, where both fighters progressed, but particularly Otto Wallin. So he's a hungry fighter right now, pretty much. So that's a fight I would advise against for Anthony Joshua to take in his comeback fight. He should not be fighting Otto Wallin. And furthermore, he's a southpaw. So, yeah, I know they're like looking at a southpaw because, look, if he's planning to get back in the ring with Usyk in the future, then he needs to fight a southpaw. I get it, but that's not the guy you want to fight coming off of back-to-back losses. No. Nah, you do not want to fight a guy like that coming off back-to-back losses. No, I advise against that because if he fights him, again, it's not guaranteed that he will beat him. I'm not saying that Anthony Joshua cannot beat him, but the fact is that that's a fight that there's a good chance that he will lose. And Joshua cannot afford to have a third straight loss. He cannot afford it at all because if that happens, then that pretty much is that his career is really, really in jeopardy if he suffers a third consecutive loss, or if he suffers another loss within like a fight, within the fight or so. Because, for example, let's say he wins his comeback fight and he gets into another fight and he loses that one, yeah, that's bad. You got 4 losses in 29 fights. That's not good. Ernest Terry says Joshua's a Frank Bruno 2.0. Well, I disagree with that slightly. Look, they're both, I would say that Joshua and Bruno is both robotic. But there are some differences between the two. Frank Bruno definitely had a damn good jab. He did have a very fast jab for heavyweight. So his jab was better than Joshua, but Joshua overall was a better technical fighter than Frank Bruno. Better overall technical fighter. He has combination punches more so than Bruno. He was far more accurate than Bruno. He was far more coordinated than Bruno, balance wise, whatnot. So, yeah, I definitely somewhat disagree with that comparison. But yeah, that's the thing. He needs a strict black U.S. trainer. Um, you know what? I- Maybe I want to say, look, yeah, I guess he does need a strict trainer. I know James Ali Bashir was offered. I did have an opportunity to speak to Coach Bashir on EJ's channel. Shout out to EJ Boxing Live. And Mr. Bashir did express some of his contempt and concerns about Joshua because he was offered, an invitation to go into one of Joshua's training camps leading up to this second Usyk rematch, the second Usyk fight, I should say. And I believe, according to Mr. Bashir's words, the camp was a bit of disarray. And obviously, he has a stipulation that if you're going to bring me on, then I have to be the lead trainer. Whatever I say goes. Nobody else's input matters. And Mr. Bashir, and shout out to Mr. Bashir, all the respect in the world. He's a very respectable guy. He has a very, very strict structure. Whatever he says goes, nothing else matters. And I can respect that because you cannot have too many ears when it comes to training a fighter. Now, you can always welcome a little bit of input. That's why the assistants are there. But at the end of the day, the assistants are not the ones who are giving you advice. It's the lead trainer that's giving you advice. The only thing the assistant can do is to relay some bit of tips to the lead trainer, and lead trainer relay that over to the fighter. So what I've been hearing, Joshua does not like being told what to do, just like Deontay Wilder. But I think that's changed now with Malik Scott. But with Mark Breland, yeah, Wilder did not like being told what to do by Mark Breland. It just goes to show that he didn't really respect him. And I like Mark Breland. But I guess that what it is that he didn't really have, he couldn't get that respect that Deontay Wilder has, that from Deontay Wilder now that Malik Scott has that respect. I don't know what it is, but Malik has actually got to Deontay Wilder. He's actually got to him because it seems like Deontay's actually listening to him. As far as Mark Breland, he just wouldn't listen to him. I don't know what it was that about. But anyways, I digress. But the fact is that Joshua is the type of guy that does not like to being told to do something that he does not want to do. That's what was gathered from those training camps. And Robert Garcia kind of alluded to that himself, leading up to that to the Usyk rematch. What I found bizarre. The same thing with Angel Fernandez. So, yeah, you could get a strict trainer, but I don't think Joshua's going to want that. He wants somebody who's going to be lax, who's going to give him room to to do what he wants. So yeah, Ali Bashir would have been the guy, but there's a reason why they didn't select him. So yeah, Miles says that AJ cannot afford 3 losses in a row. He need a couple of wins. Absolutely, absolutely. So that's why I commend them for his team. That is for not putting him back in the ring for the remainder of the year. So, and again, by the way, those people saying that that's bullshit. Joshua should fight. He needs to be active. They really don't know about boxing. Boxing is not always about physical strength. For the most part, when you win fights, it's based off mental strength. All right. You can have all the physical attributes in the world to compete, but if you don't have the mental strength, that's not going to intertwine with each other. So you definitely have to have the mental composure to get through fights. And right now, Joshua is not mentally composed. He's mentally weak right now, so he needs time to recover to gather his strength from a mental standpoint. So that's the right thing to do, and that's my thoughts. DGO says, I agree. Joshua should pause to regroup, but he shouldn't get too cold because Wilder's still mentally broken. The dude completely emasculated is still more than ever surrounded by nothing but yes men. I will agree to disagree. Now, as far as the Joshua part, absolutely. But as far as Deontay Wilder still being mentally weak, I didn't really see that. I think he's had enough time to regroup and prepared after that third Fury loss. And mind you, he had a whole year, so he took his time away from boxing. He focused on his other activities outside of that, and he got himself mentally together again because he went in there against Helenius, changed up his tactics, whatnot, and yeah, it seems like he's mentally ready again. He seems like he's got his mental confidence back. So yeah, but if he has to fight Tyson Fury the 4th time, we'll have to put that to the test. So yeah, I disagree with the Wilder still being mentally broken. I think he's mentally together now. Now you would have had a point if he had fought like 3 4 months after the third Fury loss, and they put him back in the ring right away. Then yeah, his mental capacity there would have been challenged. So yeah. Percy says, yes, lesson acid can tire you out if you aren't carrying the weight muscle. In my early years, I used to train and lift heavy. I did the blood circuit method of lifting. Yeah, you know what? I was going to say, though, if you're going to put on that big, that amount of muscle, you need time for your body to regulate that. And that was the problem. Wilder put it on way too quickly. He didn't have time to regulate that, and that's why it plagued him the way it did. So you do have a point there. If you're going to put on that muscle, you got to give your body time to regulate it, especially if you're competing in physical activities. Because if you don't do that, then it's going to really affect you. So yeah, I definitely agree with that point. Bruno fought in a much better area. Yeah, he definitely did. He definitely did. And too bad he came up short against Mike Tyson and against who else? Bone Crusher Smith and Tim Witherspoon. In fact, the Tim Witherspoon and the Bone Crusher Smith fight, so he was supposed to win those fights, and he lost those fights. Mike Tyson, yeah, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We didn't. Many people didn't even give him a chance to win those fights, but I mean, Bone Crusher Smith and what you call Tim Witherspoon. And don't get me wrong, Tim Witherspoon was still a tough opponent. Shout out to Terrible Tim, but I mean, Bruno was set up to win that fight. Let's be real. He was set up to win it, and he didn't come through. Lennox Lewis, same thing. He gave Lennox Lewis a very tough fight, but he came up short. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. So, and by the way, Bone Crusher Smith was a guy, was the first guy to beat Bruno. So, yeah. It appears that Joshua has to find someone he respects. So maybe he'll listen to Floyd. I do agree. Joshua is hard headed. Yeah, he's definitely got to find a trainer that he respects that's going to tell him what to do and tell him what he doesn't want to hear, because that's exactly what Malik Scott's doing to Deontay Wilder. We say what you want about Malik, but he will tell you if you fuck it up, you fuck it up. And he told Wilder that. He yelled at him in the third fight. And, when Wilder was taking all that punishment, he yelled at him. It's like, dude, you're fucking up out there. You need to wake the fuck up. It's very simple. All you have to do is circle the guy, be on your feet, and don't be in front of him taking those exchanges. When he ties you up in the ropes, all you do is circle him. That's all you have to do. Don't try to outstrength the guy. Pretty much that's what Malik told him. But at the same time, Malik should understand that Deontay didn't have no strength yet. But I think he needs to tell him that to encourage him and tell him that you're fucking up out there. So, yeah, Joshua definitely needs somebody that he can respect and tell him that he's fucking up. He needs that. He needs that Deontay Wilder treatment. Let's be real. He does. So, yeah, again, nothing else more to be added on this. Anthony Joshua definitely does need to rest for the remainder of the year and focus on 2023 and let him do what he wants to do. I know he just recently wrapped up a modeling gig over in Milan, Italy. He walked on a runway in the fashion show. I know a lot of people had something to say about that, but hey, it is what it is. You let him do what he wants to do outside of that. I know some people criticize Deontay Wilder for making a reggaeton song, whatnot. But hey, let him enjoy his life, man. The man can't enjoy his life. Same thing with Anthony Joshua. In fact, the same Joshua fanboys who didn't like the fact that Joshua got criticized for walking the runway, the same people that criticized Deontay Wilder for making a music single. So look, man, you can't have it both ways. You really can't. So it is what it is. Last but not least, just to wrap this up, we're going to briefly talk about this one. Tyson Fury and Fury-Chisora 3. Oh, boy. What do I need to say about this? I did get a chance to look at the fight presser today. And boy, oh, boy, if that's one of the most depressing scenes I've ever seen. And I do really mean that. Because I've never seen a press conference where you got, a room full of press and media, which wasn't that many of them, by the way. It was very silent. It was very awkward. And Tyson Fury trying to be the loudest guy in the room, trying to get everybody pumped up. It just seems like nobody's really falling for that. It's like, dude, you're trying to get people, riled up for a fight that nobody wanted to see. Nobody wanted to see this fight. Chisora got beat up badly in those first two Fury fights. He barely survived Kubrat Pulev. He looked slow in that fight. He looked shot to pieces, as you want to call it. And he barely won that fight. And don't get me wrong, I gave Derek the result, but if you gave it to Pulev, no problem with that. Worst case, best case scenario, you could have scored there's a draw in that fight, that is. And Derek looked like he didn't really have much left to go. I mean, he openly admitted that in the fight presser. I mean, in the fight interview, post fight interview, that is, that he didn't have much time left. So he needs a big payday. So Tyson Fury, his friend, is rescuing him and say, "Look, I'm going to offer you a big payday. Don't worry about it. Let me do the promotion," which Derek was going to help do as well. But this is a waste of time and the audacity to put this fight in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Frank Warren's facing a lot of backlash over this one. Same thing with Bob Arum. They had to really face a lot of tough questions over this situation. They got irritated. And so did Tyson Fury himself. It's like, what do you want me to do? Joshua didn't want to fight me. I'm fighting the guy who wants to fight me. Really? Then why do you fight Joe Joyce? Joe Joyce called you out, Tyson. He wanted that fight. He wanted that slot. But after what he did to your boy Joseph Parker, the way he beat him up and brutalized him, you looked at that and said, "Oh, hell no, I'm not getting in the ring with that guy. Nah, I'll fight him when he slows down." That's exactly what he's trying to do with Usyk. And by the way, the Fury fanboys who were going out there saying that, well, he's fighting Chisora so that way he can get a tune-up before he fights Usyk. Well, how do we know he's going to fight Usyk? Because there's nothing in principle in agreement to make that fight. There's nothing in writing. There's nothing where there's a contract where both Usyk and Fury agreed that they will fight each other as long as they get an fight in between, and they'll meet at a later date, just like Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury did when they had an interim fight before they fought each other. They agreed to that. That was part of their contract going to the second fight, that is. So there's nothing in writing. Now, when he beats Derek Chisora, yeah, he will beat him. I'm going to say that definitively he will beat him. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. God help me if I'm wrong, if Derek Chisora wins that fight. But when he definitively beats Chisora and brutalizes him, that's why I predict that will happen, there is no guarantee that he's going to fight Usyk. None at all. Because here's Fury talking about, I'll fight Deontay Wilder again because Wilder's this close for getting a mandatory shot if he beats Ruiz. So he's talking about that, but he's refusing to talk about whether to commit to the Usyk fight. So the thing is, my point is that if you say Derek Chisora is the only available opponent, then why didn't you not take up Frank Sanchez? Why didn't you take Madoff? Why didn't you take up Joe Joyce, as I mentioned? Michael Hunter, he needs an opponent because his cousin Huey pulled out of the fight. Fight Michael Hunter. He's ready. He needs a shot. He's ready to go. And by the way, Tyson, you did beat him in the amateurs, but you don't want to fancy that fight because Hunter is a much improved fighter after that. So, anyhow, yeah, Tyson Fury is trying to rile everybody up and try to sell this fight. It's not going to work because that press conference was dreadful. It was depressing to watch. No one was excited. No one was really entertained. I know they tried the best to give in to the Fury's antics, whatnot. It just didn't work. And the thing is, they keep bringing up Anthony Joshua. Well, the reason why I'm taking this fight because the coward didn't have the balls to fight me. Yada yada yada. And Derek Chisora responded to that and said, "Well, I don't know what it is, man. It seems like when it comes to Anthony Joshua, you always have a chip over your shoulder. It seems like you want to have sex with the guy." And Tyson Fury did have to laugh at that a little bit, whatnot. So, anyhow, this is a joke of a fight. It's wasting everyone's time. And I guarantee, I believe this was going to happen. If they don't sell enough tickets on a pre-order window, then on a pre-sale, I say not pre-order, pre-sale window, I guarantee you this: they're going to move that venue. They're going to move that venue if they don't sell enough tickets in the pre-sale window. If they move that venue, that goes to show that the lack of demand and interest in that fight right there. It's a waste of people's time. And the worst part of it all is not only the stadium fight, it's on pay-per-view, for God's sakes. It's on Sky. It's on not Sky. It's on BT's box office pay-per-view. All I gotta say is Frank Warren, Queensberry, and Top Rank got their work cut out for them trying to promote this fight. They got their work cut out for them because Tyson Fury himself cannot promote this fight. And given the fact that the feedback and the energy from that crowd today in that conference, that goes to show that no one wanted to see this fight and no one's interested. And Tyson Fury had to rant about that a little bit too. He's like, "Why anybody want to see this fight? What do you want me to do?" Yeah, dummy, what you should have done, fought Joe Joyce. That was a fight that was warranted pay-per-view, a warranted stadium fight, but you didn't want to take that fight. So now you're going to get a lot of criticism for it. Now, the only people that I criticize him is them nutcase Tyson Fury fanboys. Again, My question to them, or my statement to them is that, look, if you're saying that he's taking this fight because it's a tune-up to fight Usyk, but how does that make any sense? He hasn't agreed to anything in principle to fight Usyk after this fight. Nothing is in writing. He hasn't done that, and he hasn't even committed to fighting Usyk. And he was asked about him. He hasn't even committed to it. So you can't use that argument that he's going to fight Usyk later. That's not going to happen. For where I'm standing. Hell, hopefully I'm wrong, but from the looks of it, that Usyk and Fury fight may not happen. And then the mandatories is going to get called, and Usyk may eventually drop one of those belts, for what I've been hearing. So that's going to definitely set back the heavyweight division. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Mala says that Fury and Chisora. Yeah, I had to, Bercy. I had to. Fury and Chisora 3 is a joke. If Fury isn't fighting Usyk, AJ, or Joyce, I don't want to see it. Yeah, and man, at this point, man, I'm not. At this point, if this fight's getting boycotted, which I think it is, that's all on Fury. I'm not gonna put this on Chisora because Chisora was offered the fight and he took it. He's gonna take the money. He's gonna take it wherever the money goes, right? I mean, actually, let me rephrase that. He's gonna go where the money is at. That's what he's gonna do. So I'm not gonna really put this on him. It's Fury and his fucking cherry picking antics. That's what the problem is. All right, and people are fed up with him, and he's not gonna get away with it. And like I said, Frank Warren and Bob Aaron's feeling the heat right now. They're feeling a lot of pressure because again, if they don't perform the pre-sale results in a window that they want the results to come in, they're gonna move that venue. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. They're more likely going to move that venue if they don't meet their targets on the pre-sale. I believe that. Fury's going to carry KO Chisora within 7. Yeah, he probably's going to carry him, and then he's going to get him out in the mid rounds. Yeah, I don't give Chisora one. He's not going to win around this fight. Just like the second fight, I didn't give Chisora 1 round. I mean, if anything, he probably won 2 rounds at best, maybe 1, or maybe 2, I should say. But it was pretty much a shutout before the stoppage in the second fight. That is, in fact, as I remember correctly, the crowd was booing the hell out of that fight because it was boring to watch. Tyson Fury was just picking the guy apart. He didn't really. I mean, it's like it was just a sparring session, glorified sparring session, where Chisora was getting battered all over the place. He just couldn't do anything, and the crowd got upset and it was upset about it. It was not saying boring. It was just a waste of time for the most part. So why are we going to get another waste of time trilogy fight between Fury and Chisora? Waste of time. Now, I heard Hatman's comment about this. I mean, and I have to concur with his opinion. If Jerry Chisora is a former champion, right, and he's coming off strings of successful wins, not just one win, a string of successful wins, and he goes in there and he's a champion, and he's come off successful wins. Okay, then the third fight would make sense, even though Chisora got battered in the first 2. But at this point, it does not make sense at all. Derek has lost 3 of his last 4 fights. He's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. In the last fight, which is the Cooper Pulev fight, and the fight before that, which is the Joseph Parker rematch, he looks sluggish. He looks shot. He looks a lot slower than ever. His punch speed is gone. His punch resistance is almost evaporated. So this is just bad situation for Tyson Fury. And again, if they don't meet those pre-sale targets, they're not going to have that venue. They're not going to have that fight at Tottenham Hotspur. Believe that, bro. Believe that. Dan, you going all Fran Sanford, calling him dummy. Yeah, he's a big fucking dummy. I'm going to call him that. Look, Tyson Fury is not an intelligent guy as people make him out to be. Yeah, he has some bit of intellect in other areas as far as trying to play the psychological game with his opponents. But outside of that, he's a fucking idiot. All right? First of all, you don't go off and pay off a bribe to get you off a drug case knowing that shit wouldn't get leaked. All right? Sorry for cursing, but it is what it is. You pay off a bribe, it got leaked, and the next you know, you voluntarily gave up your UK license because of the story got leaked out about that. All right? And then you lied about taking Angelo when indeed you did get caught with Angelo. That was proven that you taken it. But yeah, you blame it on wild boar meat, which the fabrication came in, and then we find out later that Angelo cannot be ingested by oral. You have to have an injection for it to work. Okay. And then the fact that he's hanging around with a narco terrorist as his boxing manager for many, many, many years. Who knows if he's done nefarious activities with the guy? Now he wants to go out and pretend that he had nothing to do with him when in actuality he's had, periodic conversations with him before the sanctions by the U.S. government. So yeah, that's how much of an idiot that he is. You're still hanging around with the guy. You attended one of his weddings that I found out about, by the way, in Dubai, where all the international criminal figures are partaking in that wedding in Dubai. He was there with them. So yeah, he's not a bright guy. He's not a bright guy. He's still sniffing that bit of that nose candy, as you want to call it, because every day he's showing up like he's out of it on cocaine or crack. I mean, seriously, somebody should tell him that. As I do, you have a habit of being on that nose candy. Are you gonna quit for the sake of your career and your family? I mean, Jesus Christ, you're a documented drug cheat, so you have no reason to accuse Alexander Usyk without any evidence. Because the last time I checked, you got busted for Nangelo. And you got busted for the manipulating Gub situation with John McDermott and Christian Hammer, the same guy that you failed a drug test with, but it was covered up until after the Klitschko fight. So don't sit there and try to call somebody a drug cheat when you are a documented guy with no evidence of it. In fact, that you are a documented drug cheat. That's on record. Oh, by the way, you don't want people to talk about that because the last guy who talked about it got some, whatever happened to him when he brought it up, Tyson Fury abruptly ended the interview. He got upset about it and then it never got brought up again. So it is what it is. So Tyson Fury is not that bright as people make him out to be. He's not that educated. And that's all I got to say. And all this shenanigans, this bullshit is catching up to him. Now, he may not listen to me, but I'm going to tell you how it is. He doesn't speak coherent English. No, he does not. He is not educated, as I said. He lacks that department. So it is what it is. Oh, imagine me doing a fight press with Tyson Fury. You're not going to play that mind game with me, bro, because I can equally play that game as well. And you're not going to like what I have to say about you and about your level of intellect. And that's the thing about Tyson Fury is that when he knows a guy like me, or let's say Alexander Usyk, who can play that mind game very well, if not better, he knows that he can't, he knows what he's up against. And that's why he doesn't want to take that Usyk fight because he knows what he's up against. He's not going to get in this guy's head. Usyk can play his mind games just as well as he can, if not better. And I think Usyk can do it much better than he can. And Tyson Fury knows that, and that's why he's not going near him right now. He knows it. So I guess that's one level of intellect that I can give Fury credit for, is that he does study his opponents very well. He does. So, yeah. Yeah, he's a fucking meathead, and he's a goddamn, he's a crackhead. Let's be honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's a goddamn crackhead. He doesn't hide that fact. He is. He's a crackhead. A glorified one at that. One more point before I go. This whole thing about Helenius taking a dive, let me chime on that a little bit further. Oh boy. I don't know what else to tell people. It's not a dive. The punch connected with impact. It was real. It is what it is. Okay. I don't know why people are still on that bullshit. All right. And by the way, the people on that bullshit, it's a little bit of the Joshua fanboys, but more importantly, is the Tyson Fury fanboys are all over it. And these are the same motherfuckers, excuse my language, the same people that went on and raved and bitched about people talking about Tyson Fury's gloves in the second fight. How he, it was an accusation that he manipulated his gloves against Deontay Wilder. I recall, and I wasn't on that train. I'm very consistent about that. And Percy and Mala and Fight Doctor, anybody in this chat can vouch for me. My record speaks for itself. I wasn't with that glove gate crap. I wasn't with it at all. I thought that was bullshit, and I thought it was unfounded by Deontay Wilder and whatnot. I mean, unless you have evidence of that, you need to present that. All right. And that's what I told Deontay. If not, you need to knock it off and let it go. All right. In this case, these motherfuckers who were complaining and saying that it's crazy, it's outlandish to even suggest that Tyson Fury would do something like that. Okay, cool. But neglecting the fact that he has done something like this in the past. But I'm not saying he did it then with Deontay Wilder because there's no evidence of that. I can accept that. But the fact is, don't go around and have a double standard when you want to go out and point out the fact that, you want to point out that there was a dive that took place with the Helenius fight. You have no evidence of that. So you open up a can of words for, for being ridiculed for driving a conspiracy theory. While you criticize people for bringing up this conspiracy about Tyson Fury loading up his gloves or manipulating his gloves. So you can't have it both ways. And by the way, I had to call out some of the Wilder fans too, and I know some of those guys. Now, when you say the dive is a joke, it's not. There's no, it's crazy to say it's a dive. Then you can't come out and say that Glovegate is real. You cannot say that. So I'm talking to both sides here. Both sides can't have it both ways. You can't say one situation is nonsense. It's crazy to call it a conspiracy theory, while on the other hand, you're talking about this is a dive. That's equally crazy. We saw that punch connected. We saw the ringside footage of it. We saw how big of the impact that punch is. And yet they still cannot accept it. Because what they wanted to see Deontay Wilder struggle in that fight. Because if he had struggled, if Helenius was still in there for like 8 rounds, then they would have criticized him and said, yeah, Wilder's not the same guy anymore. Now they're looking for something to discredit him. That's what this is all about. So, yeah, I'm talking to both sides. You cannot talk about conspiracy while you're trying to drive up another one. You can't do that. All right? Yeah, Rob Miles says, I saw the ringside footage of that punch. It would landed big. Exactly. So y'all not going to talk about the flopping? Yeah, I did talk about that. If you were paying attention, I did talk about that earlier. Yeah, Golovkin and Canelo did poorly at 600,000 buys. It did. You know why? Because Canelo got 45 million plus ups, excluding the upside, which he got later on the back end, and Golovkin got 20 million plus upside. And only if you include that, then you have to include the upside. You also have to include the fact that they have to pay a lot of money for the international rights, which they flopped. Yes, they did well at the gate, but that was not enough to cover the cost as far as the production is concerned. So the fight did flop, bruh, or ma'am, whoever you are. So both fights flopped. I said that earlier. I'm consistent. So yeah, moving along. He didn't take a dive. He was there to get beat in spectacular fashion. That's what happened. So it's a difference. Stupid. I just said that. $45 million guarantee plus upside. Do you listen? Oh boy, you need to go back to school and learn your comprehension skills. That's not too bad. That's your fault. You lack that attention span. Yeah, I agree, Percy. He was just there to get beat. We all know why Helenius was picked. He was picked because Wilder knows him very well. He's a vulnerable guy. All right, I'm not going to respond to this guy. You're a troll. One of those races. But you know what? It's funny, though, you say that because historically, black fighters have more champions and more Hall of Famers than anyone else. That's not about race. That's a fact. But if you don't want to deal with that, then too bad. And you are going to get blocked. All right. So, on to this. Salute. Hey, what's up, Bagari? Long time no here, man. Salute to you, brother. Salute to you here. Yeah, again, going back to this, it was a confidence builder for Wilder. It definitely was. I mean, nothing wrong with that. You do need an opponent that, he knows very well, who could model Tyson Fury a little bit if they have any plans to get back in the ring with him. Yeah, I just did, Percy. I blocked the troll. Usually these trolls are uploaders that don't want to show their true identities. That's what this is all about. And I'm not going to name who they are. I have a feeling who it is. But in actuality, they don't have the heart to say it in our faces when we meet them face to face. The thing about this internet world is a safe haven for them to say what they want to say. But in reality, they know they can't say it in our faces. They know they can't because they know they're going to get dealt with. So, yeah, I mean, again, back to Helenius. Helenius is coming off good wins against Adequanaki back to back. A top 10 heavyweight at the time. And he had momentum. He's vulnerable. He's had experience. He's been in there with some good, with some caliber opponents. So yeah, this is, and he does model Tyson Fury a little bit. So yeah, definitely need this. Definitely need this. He's definitely a good opponent for Wilder in the comeback fight. So yeah, nothing wrong with the matchmaking. It was very good for Team Wilder. Yeah, I did block him, Percy. I did. Stephen Mamala says that the money that was paid out for Golovkin Canelo 3 would really have wanted to do 1 million buys. Yeah, it needed to exceed 1 million buys to break a little bit over even, or even make a little profit. It needs to crack 1 million buys in the U.S. to make a profit, but they didn't. They fell well short of that. So, and this idiot that came out over here and want to throw that 77,000 into my face. I mean, we already addressed that already. I said it was a flop. It's terrible. But again, we don't know if that's the actual figure coming from the source of that's which is Rick Glazer. So as I mentioned earlier, if Rick Glazer is reporting a number like that, then you want to add an additional 30,000 pay-per-view buys on top of that. But at the same time, it's still a flop either way. It's bad, and I predicted it was going to be a flop because it was not a pay-per-view worthy fight. It is what it is. Yeah, what up to Tony Reviews? Yeah, man, I had to block a racist troll, man. I had to because he tried to get smart. So yeah, he wants to talk all about this. He wanted to go racial because I corrected him, and I had to tell him that your comprehension skills are very poor, and he didn't like that. So it is what it is. You get insulting, I'm gonna insult you right back. You know, you have to take have a taste of your own medicine, as I want to call it. Yeah, totally understanding. Yes, internet trolls is a safe haven for those cowards. Yeah, it is. It's always been a safe haven for them. It always has been. So yeah. Other than that, yeah, guys, that's all I gotta say. Tyson Fury, Derek Chisora is a complete waste of time. Nobody wants to see that fight. Guaranteed pay-per-view box office flop. And again, if they don't meet their pre-sale targets for that Tottenham fight at Tottenham, they're gonna move that venue to a 20,000 seat arena like O2 or Manchester arena, which is I think it's been renamed to the NEC arena, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I predict that's what's gonna be the case because this fight is going to do terribly bad. Terribly bad. Hell, it might do so bad to the point they might even have to cancel the event altogether. But personally, I don't know if that's going to be the case. Yeah, worst case scenario, they're going to have to move the venue if they don't meet their pre-sale target. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Yeah, good talking to you as always, Marlon, man. Always Cook Company, Percy, Tony Reviews, Bakari King, DGO, Ernest Terry, the Fight Doctor. It's always a pleasure to guys and Hoplotype. So other than that, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. Until next time, we're out. Peace.